Chapter 26. The Pass of Kharvath-Dum. The next day of the journey east began beneath an overcast sky and a harsh wind descending from the mountains. The Haldrum caravan advanced at a steady pace. Heavy wagons, draft mules, a handful of dwarves, Dren at the front, and the rest of the group spread along the flanks, maintaining constant vigilance. Ether circled high above the formation, while Luthera walked beside Alden, with the restrained stillness of a shadow on guard. With every step, the road grew steeper. When the sun reached the middle of the sky, the gray rock walls announcing the entrance to the pass of Kharvath-Dum rose before them. A narrow gorge where two mountains seemed to have closed in on themselves, leaving only a line of shadow cutting through the stone. Borin Haldrum stopped and spat on the ground. "I don't like this place," he growled, stroking his braided beard. "The wind here smells wrong." Alden drew a breath. The air was different, heavy, motionless, as if the mountain itself were holding its breath. Kale frowned. "Is this silence normal?" "Never a good sign," Doran replied, adjusting his axe. "But the pass is the fastest route, and the only one that doesn't force us into 2 days of open cliffs." Dren stepped forward a few paces, studying the entrance. His expression was calm, but his eyes examined every crevice. "We go through," he decided, "but keep the formation tight. An attack here could come from any angle." The interior of the pass of Kharvath-Dum was darker than it had appeared from outside. The walls leaned inward until they almost touched. Light from the entrance filtered down in a weak thread that barely illuminated the ground. The rock was damp. Footsteps echoed and multiplied, as if others were walking alongside them. Leanna brushed the wall with her fingers. The stone was icy. "I don't like this place," she whispered. "No one should," Sira replied, crescent blades ready, her voice low and steady. "Stay alert." Alden walked a few steps ahead, attentive to the faintest sound. The mark pulsed weakly beneath his skin, like a restless hiss. Luthera gave a low growl. Not aggressive, a warning. Ether dipped low for a moment, gliding over the caravan, then rose again toward the strip of light near the ceiling of the pass. "Do you think he feels it too?" Kale asked, watching the hawk. Alden nodded. "Animals know before we do when something is wrong." Kale was about to reply, but a sound cut him off. A scrape, a brief rasp of breath. Something moving within the shadows. Dren raised a hand. "Stop!" The group froze. They listened. The wind did not blow inside the pass. The silence was absolute until it wasn't. A deep growl rolled between the stone walls. It came not from a single point, but from several, like echoes answering one another. Then another, and another, and another. Doran went pale. "Don't tell me." That sound. The next growl confirmed everything. Too low, too guttural, too hungry. Dren stepped back, drawing his curved daggers. "What is that?" Kyle murmured, tension tightening his voice. Sarah answered without taking her eyes off the tunnel. "Virkaths." The name fell like a slab of stone. "Vir what?" Cal snapped. Sarah swallowed. "Creatures of shadow, hunters of the void. They don't usually come this far south of the Elendor border." Alden saw something move. He wasn't sure. A flash of red eyes, a shape dissolving into gloom, then nothing. "Move," Dren ordered. "Circle the wagons. No one stands alone." Borin Haldrum stood frozen beside the first cart, gripping his staff. "By my ancestors, if they're Virkaths, this pass is cursed." The ground trembled faintly. A shadow larger than a wolf slid along the wall, liquid, as if absorbed by the rock. The light did not touch it, it devoured it. Kale jumped back. "How in the hell?" "They merge with shadows," Sarah said. "If there's darkness, they can move within it. Only intense light forces them to take form." Leanna closed her eyes, focused for a heartbeat, and raised a hand. A gust of wind burst forth, dragging dust and small stones into the darkness. A growl answered from within. Annoyance, not pain. "That will hold them for now," she said. Dren turned to the others. "If they attack in a confined space, they can wipe us out." "What do we do?" Alden asked. Sarah answered immediately. Torches, all of them. Light doesn't kill them, but it forces them to reveal their form. Boren reacted at once. In the barrels! I've got oil and torches! The dwarves rushed to the wagons, lighting torches with trembling hands. The flames flickered, pushing back the darkness. And then they saw it. The first Virkath emerged fully, the size of a small horse, wolf-like but sharper, as if its body were liquid shadow stretched over a skeleton too large for it. Skin black as ink, red eyes blazing with hunger, translucent fangs exhaling a dark vapor. Kyle stepped back, breath hitching. That is not a wolf. I never said it was, Sarah replied, icy calm. The creature growled, a sound that vibrated in everyone's chest. Then it leapt. Alden drew his blades just as the Virkath crashed toward them. Dren moved like a shadow, slicing into the beast's flank with near-inhuman speed. Sarah surged forward, crescent blades spinning with lethal precision. Lyanna raised both hands. A violent blast erupted before her, hurling dust and stone into the creature and forcing it back. Don't give them space, Sarah shouted. And keep the torches high. The dwarves formed a circle around the wagons. Torches raised. The flames trembled, and from the ceiling of the pass, 2 more shadows dropped, claws extended. The fight exploded in full. Doran stopped a charge with his axe, deflecting the blow with a grunt. Cal severed a leg that seemed to dissolve and reform amid dark flashes. They won't die, Kyle gasped. Aim for the neck or the chest, where the shadow is densest, Sarah ordered, blocking an attack. Alden dodged strikes, stone booming around him. Luthera leapt onto the back of one beast, sinking her teeth into its neck. The Virkath shrieked, trying to shake her off, but the wolf held fast. Lyanna thrust both palms forward. A compressed vortex slammed into another Virkath, smashing it against the wall. But more kept coming, from the rock, from the darkest angles, from unseen breaths. Kyle shouted, There are too many! We won't make it out like this! Boren, white as wax. This isn't normal. This is a hunt. Dren blocked a claw aimed at Lyanna's throat and shoved her back without even looking at her. If this keeps up, we won't reach the other side. Alden saw everything, Kale falling back, Doran bleeding, Sarah carving space for 2 dwarves, Lyanna struggling to hold the wind, Luthera fighting a beast larger than herself. The world narrowed. The mark burned beneath his skin. One pulse, another, like a heartbeat awakening, and Alden understood. There was a way, only one. He drew a deep breath. Light began to rise, first faint, then stronger, then impossible to ignore. The light burst from Arundel like an overflowing pulse. It was not fire. It was not heat. It was a brilliant purity, white gold, alive like a dawn held back too long. Arundel seemed to drink in the air, and then release all its radiance at once. The pass of Kharvath-Dum flooded with light, as if a sun had been born inside the mountain. The Virkaths reacted instantly, a piercing, tearing shriek. Their shadow skin rippled like boiling ink. Red eyes winked out all at once. Lyanna shielded her face with an arm, though she did not retreat. Sarah held her ground, eyes narrowed against the intensity. Kale dropped to one knee, stunned. Doran raised an arm to protect himself, growling. The torches trembled, insignificant. The primordial light imposed silence. The beast grappling with Luthera unraveled like cut smoke. Another poised to leap at Kale stumbled back, claws slipping on stone. The largest Virkath, the leader, collapsed with a strangled roar. And Alden advanced. He did not think. He did not choose. The mark guided him. He stopped before the caravan, between his people and the creatures, and raised the sword. The light expanded once more in a perfect circle, tearing the shadows from the tunnel as if they were rotting cloth. Forced to fully materialize, the Virkaths looked like dark, nervous stone, fragile, exposed. Sarah was the first to react. Now, she commanded. While they're solid. Lyanna hurled a column of focused wind into 2 weakened creatures. One smashed into the wall, the other rolled, shrieking. Doran drove his axe into the hardened chest of a Virkath. The creature cracked, shattering like fractured rock. Kyle, drawing breath, struck another with a clean cut to the neck. This time the shadow did not regenerate. Olden's light had forced it into flesh that could not endure. Dren moved among the bodies with unsettling precision. He did not smile. He did not speak. His dagger sliced through solidified shadow as if it were soaked silk. But his eyes never left Alden. The leader, Virkath, blackened and convulsing under the light, staggered back. Its shadowed body sparked and split with glowing fissures. With one last desperate roar, it lunged toward Alden. Luthera leapt first. The wolf slammed into the creature, locking onto its neck. The Virkath fought back, but Arundel flared again, brighter still, as if answering the wolf's courage. A luminous crack opened in the beast's chest. Then another, and another. The monster burst into black fragments that evaporated into the air like smoke devoured by a gale. Silence. The light faded, slowly, gently, until it died away like a flame returning home. Alden trembled. He breathed as though the air itself weighed something. The energy that had filled him withdrew all at once, leaving him hollow as if part of him had stepped forward, and now stepped back. Arundel lay still, bright, yes, but silent. The mark beneath his skin pulsed once more, and went dark. Alden dropped to one knee. Lyanna ran to him. "Alden!" Luthera pressed against his side, warm, steadying him. Sira arrived beside them, voice low. "Can you stand?" "Yes," he said, his voice a thin, weary thread. "It just caught me by surprise." Kyle, still shaking, let out an incredulous breath. "That was too much for one day?" Doran looked at Alden with a mix of respect and disbelief. "What you did back there, you don't see that once in 100 lifetimes." Lyanna placed a firm hand on his arm. "Breathe. That's all." He did. The cold air of the past burned his throat, but it held him upright. That was when Born Haldrum approached, torch trembling in his hand. "By my ancestors' beards," he murmured, looking at Alden. "The sword, the mark. Lad, you're not just any guard, are you?" Alden lowered his gaze. He couldn't answer. Dren appeared then, steps unhurried. He sheathed one dagger. He studied the place where the Virkaths had vanished. There was no fear on his face, no admiration, only calculation. "That," he said at last, voice neutral, "was interesting." Sira took a small step, placing herself between him and Alden, without show. "This isn't the time for comments," she said, not looking at him. Dren raised an eyebrow, barely. "I'm only stating a fact. Nothing more." Kel glared at him. "Then state it somewhere else." Dren smiled faintly. It wasn't mockery, more like recognition of a new piece on a board he thought he understood. Sira broke the tension. "We need to get out of the pass. There may be more nearby." Doran nodded sharply. "Yes, I'm not staying another minute in this hole." Born recovered himself and barked orders. "Everyone to your positions. Move. I want this caravan out of the pass before anything else wakes up." The dwarves moved with fearful discipline. Kyle helped Alden to his feet. Luthera stayed close, vigilant. Ether settled on a nearby ledge, watching him with eyes of fire, calm but alert. Alden moved slowly. He was exhausted but not broken. The mark slept in silence. It did not weigh on him. It did not burn. It only waited. When they finally reached the far end of the pass of Kharvath-Dum, daylight greeted them with a warm, ordinary glow. The air was fresh, the sky clear, no trace of shadow, as if nothing had happened. Doran wiped a hand across his face. "Don't get me wrong, but I never want to see another Virkath in my life." Kale let out a nervous laugh. "Not even one." Sarah stared back at the mountains, frowning. "They shouldn't appear this far south. Something is moving them, or driving them." Alden clenched his jaw. He knew it, he felt it, and he said nothing. Lyanna stayed beside him. She didn't speak, but her eyes reflected the same conclusion. Ahead, Dren turned, walking with his hands in his pockets. "If what waits for us at the gates of Kharvath-Dum is worse than that," he said almost casually, "I hope the boy has more resources." Alden looked up. Dren was smiling, but it wasn't a friendly smile. It was the smile of someone who had seen too much, and had understood something he shouldn't have. The caravan moved on toward the valley leading to the gates of Kharvath-Dum. The shadow of the past lay behind them, but the true shadow, the one awakened within the fire, walked with Alden, close, silent, and ever more awake.